Commission's APS Grants Program, panel number 2. My name is Jeff Bick. I will be the facilitator this afternoon. I am a lawyer serving throughout the state of Indiana, as well as a volunteer. I am a longtime resident of Noblesville, but I'm currently located in Monticello, Indiana. Today is May 4th, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. However, this meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. Much of this information is already up on your screens. Let's start with Joy.
Good afternoon. My name is Joy Rogers. I currently work in clinical research for the IU School of Medicine, and I am based in Indianapolis.
Thank you, Joy. Keisha, would you go next?
My name is Keisha Dixon. I am currently the Executive Director of the Asante Art Institute of Indianapolis, formerly known as the Asante Children's Theater.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Keisha. Christy, if you would go.
Okay, my name is Christy Clinton. Sorry for the no picture.
Introduction to the Arts Public Funded Ecosystem webinar.
I'm hearing talking over me, so I don't know what's going on. I am currently working in purchasing, but I have a long history in community theater in Indianapolis. I've worked at several different facilities over the years, and currently am most involved with Improbable Fiction Theater Company.
Thank you, Christy. Next up is Gus.
Hi, I'm Gus Piercy. I'm in communications for the Indiana Department of Revenue and on the board of Center Stage Community Theater. I like to fancy myself an actor and sometimes director.
Thank you, Gus. We have another panelist by the name of Molly. She has not been able to get here yet. She will be participating hopefully in a little while. Next, I'd like to introduce our staff. We'll start with Ryan.
My name is Ryan Shelton. I'm the Regional Arts Partner for Region 7. I'm also the Partnership Manager at Nickel Plate Arts in the eastern part of Hamilton County. And my office is in Noblesville.
All right, Ryan and Stephanie.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Haynes, Arts Education and Accessibility Program Manager at the Indiana Arts Commission, here today in a tech support role. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm sure that I will need it at some point. We will now begin the panel review. This is how the process will work. I will announce the application we will review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just please provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for a consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives that each of the panelists bring to the table. After the second reader is finished, I will open discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed on hold while the application is reviewed. My apologies. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. These scores will save automatically. I will also be giving you time at the end of each panel to add and update your scores. Are there any questions? Hearing none, let's begin. We'll start with the application from our Mexicano in Indiana. I apologize if I mispronounced any part of this. Spanish is not a language I have much experience with. Do we have any panelists or staff that need to be put on hold for this review? All right, our first reader is Keisha. Keisha, I think you're muted.
I did that so that I wouldn't hear my animals. Artistic quality and artist support regarding those areas. First of all, I was very impressed by the way the responses flowed and how comprehensive they were. The applicant painted a true picture of the project and how it will benefit the community now and in the future. It was well written and easy to follow. I liked the cultural preservation aspect as well. This is a new project that is designed to introduce children of Mexican heritage to their culture by introducing them to the work of Mexican artists. I really love that the artists will be present to meet with the students at each of the 4 pop-ups. And I also appreciate the preview of videos that will be made available to teachers and students to help them prepare for their experience. The concept of the ambulante gallery, taking art into the community and setting up a gallery for students in their school, is really grand. This truly makes relevant, authentic art accessible to an underserved group of individuals. Regarding community engagement, I like their strategy of encouraging people to complete surveys at the public event by hosting a raffle, and then the winner receives a piece of art that was donated by the artist. And the requirement of teachers being asked to write a 1-page reflection after the project also signals engagement by the community that they have defined. Collaboration with various partners made sense. However, it would be helpful if the applicant took time to better explain why these particular partners were identified and what is the anticipated mutual benefit. Also, it was clear how feedback from the teachers and organizers of Viva Festival would be solicited and incorporated into the development and planning of the project. However, it was not clear how the applicant would include the public in planning, nor garner direct feedback from the students after the fact. I would have appreciated more explanation regarding the provisions to accommodate students or visitors with physical barriers. Moving on to project management, this is such an amazing endeavor. I would think that more than one person would be involved with the implementation and execution. The lead staff person is appropriately experienced in curating events that introduce Mexican culture. That experience will definitely carry over to this new project. The timeline looks reasonable, and more explanation of budget expenses aside from the $2,000 being paid to artists would have been useful. Overall, I think this was a very good and well-written application.
Thank you, Keisha. Gus, do you have anything to add? Anything new? Any opposing thoughts?
No, I totally agreed with everything that was just said. Seems like a really good project. I assume that some of the expenses were already determined ahead of time before they did the budget. I was a little curious about the technical staff and what the need for that was, and I wanted maybe a little bit more explanation on the $800 for the setup, crew, and DJ audio. But other than that, very well done.
Thank you, Gus. All right, everyone, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to do so. I am waiting. And
let's Jeff, let's open it up to the full panel.
I
we open it up?
apologize.
Okay.
My bad. Anyone have anything to add? Hearing none.
Yep.
As I said a minute ago, please finalize your scores. And I'm going to update my script so that I make sure that I don't make that mistake again. Okay. Is everybody good? Everything updated? All right. We will now move on to the second application. This is from the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site. Do any panelists or staff need to be put on hold for this review? Okay, I will wait for Stephanie to help you out, Keisha. There we go. Thank you. All right. Why does this say that Keisha is the first reader, though?
That's my fault. We found late that it was going to be a conflict. So if you could just move to the second one.
All right. Gus, you are listed as the second reader. If you could give us your thoughts, please.
All right, so this is from the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site, and it is Candlelight Theatre. This has a long history, so obviously they have used that history in crafting this grant application, which I thought was very well done. It seems like it fit all of the artistic goals that needed to be met for the grant, as well as some community engagement. It's difficult to maybe include all, since you're open up to the public. It may not be as much as we want, but I had absolutely no qualms with the way they talked about being in the neighborhood that they are, and that they did that. Obviously, the project management, moving on, it's been well documented, 18 years, I believe it has happened before. So they have the staff in place. This is not a new staff. This is the same executive director. They even talked about adding staff in a part-time way with costumes and props. So I thought that was a good deal. And the budget was pretty well explained, and I thought fit the criteria in every way. Great accounting of volunteer hours, I thought, as well.
Okay, since Gus is the second reader and Keisha is gone, does anybody have anything else they would like to add? We would normally ask for it anyways, but just in case. Hearing nothing, I would ask that you all finalize your scores and update your online comments. I'm going to give everybody just a little bit of time.
I'm bringing Keisha back now.
Thank you. Everybody gotten their scores updated? We ready to move on? Okay. The next application is from Brick Street Poetry. Do any panelists or staff need to be put on hold for this one? All right. Looks like the first reader is Keisha. You're muted again, Keisha.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem. I keep doing the same thing.
Regarding
Please
the
begin when you're ready.
Okay. Regarding the artistic quality, the purpose and goals were clearly outlined. Poetry Alive programming has occurred for about 6 years. What I Can See, I Can Be will be a new book to be published by Brick Street Poetry, who has produced 2 other books. I believe the applicant can and will utilize past experiences to inform this project. The goal of this project is to use an illustrated book of poetry to help young people learn about real life jobs so they can visualize themselves in those occupations. Making the books available free to participants increases accessibility to this learning opportunity. Regarding artistic quality, the project description was clear and the artistic documentation gives a good sense that this project will be meaningful to the community that is designed to serve. The project benefits Indiana artists in 2 ways. They are paid and they will be published and they will be presented to a broad network of young eyes and their families. I like the inclusion of 12 artists who are high school actors who will also indirectly benefit through the experience they will gain through their participation. Surveys of audiences and artists, but not participants. I wasn't clear about that. Community engagement. I like the fact these books will be given away, as I mentioned earlier. The description of what communities will be served speaks to where the children are found. So it's not clear how these groups are considered underserved as defined by Indiana Arts Commission. I like the fact that staff will work with the teachers who will help create the survey instrument for children's feedback. Not clear on how the different rural areas in Region 7 are identified. The project integrates access, one of the IDEA strategies. Participants will be given a book at no cost to the family. The process for measuring the project's impact for children includes surveying the activity leader and the program partner. It's not clear if the children who are the beneficiaries are somehow surveyed. How does Brick Street Poetry know that their idea to produce this book was a sound instrument of time and financial resources? That would have been an added interest point for me if I could have known that. Regarding the marketing materials, they do reflect to seek the children that they serve. In the application, the plan is to use a diverse group, including those of Native American and African American ancestry. Perhaps adding images representative of those groups would be a consideration for the website, throughout social media, and wherever this project is being marketed. Regarding project management, who will make the project happen? The project lead has extensive experience in planning and presenting poetry activities. The inclusion of other people to carry out the project was not clearly made known. The racial composition of the committee was not clear, so it's not clear how the needs of Native American and African American bodies will be met. Regarding the budget, 6 artists at $600 was $3,600. So there's a $600 disparity in the pay that went to artists and the amounts that were reflected in the budget. So next time I would just say review your budget carefully to make sure that the numbers are in sync with the budget area, as well as when any of those numbers are mentioned earlier in the application.
Thank you, Keisha. Gus, any new, additional, or opposing comments?
No, I thought it was summed up pretty well. I thought the timeline was a little crunched, but I'm assuming that since it's been done before, that they were aware of what it would take to get it done. And perhaps I would have liked to have seen some new artists used, put out a call for writers and illustrators. That might have been a point that I would have liked to have seen in order to spread out this project.
Thank you, Gus. Are there any other panelists' comments on this one?
I just want to visit Gus's point real quick. So regarding the artist selection, are you maybe talking about the community engagement or like idea strategy criteria, like to reach different underserved audiences, or can you explain that a little more, how it relates to the criteria?
Yeah, I definitely thought that would be a way of doing, of adding diversity, since they'd already used these artists and writers to do the stories and stuff like that. So I thought that would have been a great way to get more diversity into the book and the project overall.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the panel? Okay, I'm asking that everybody please finalize your scores, update your online comments. I will give everyone just a little bit of time. Okay, let me know if you need any more time. All righty, we're going to move on. The next application is from Broad Ripple Village Association. Do any panelists or staff need to be put on hold for this review? Okay. Our first reader is Joy.
So the Beautify Broad Ripple Village program, this is a brand new project. I thought that it was I think that it's a really great way to bring together several groups in the community, including the artists, the IMPD officers, the mentees, the high school students. It's very inclusive. And I think in today's environment, humanizing police is very important. So kudos to that. I appreciate that this program is not only about beautification, but also an effort to curb vandalism and other crimes that might take place in Broad Ripple. Looking at the timeline of the project, I thought that it seemed appropriate. It's stretched out over several months, and it seems like it's moving along nicely. I thought that to offset costs, that it was a great idea to have corporate sponsorships, as well as having the marketing done by volunteers. So overall, I think this is a great project, and I hope that it turns out well and brings the community together.
It looks like we lost Gus. Do you need me to hold here, or are we proceeding?
Let's see it. Let's open it up and then we'll come back if he's available.
Okay, Molly would normally be the second reader. Do you have anything to add, Ryan?
No, there's Gus. So yeah, let's just make sure there's nobody additional comments.
Welcome back, Gus. We have just moved on to any additional new or opposing comments. Does anybody have anything? And this is still in the Broad Ripple Village Association, Gus.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that it's always helpful in your marketing materials if you utilize images to denote who you're working with or who you're seeking to attract to your project. So if they're working with IMPD and they're working with students and they're working with other various groups that can be depicted by either uniforms or their school colors, that's very helpful in marketing materials to communicate to everyone who you're working with and what this project is for.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Please finalize your scores and update your online comments. As always, I'll give everybody a little bit of time. All right. Does anybody need any additional time? Okay, the next application is from the Fishers Arts Council. I know that Ryan needs to step out. Do any other panelists need to step out? Okay, and we will begin. It looks like our first reader is Joy.
Spark of Creativity. Looks like this is going into its 4th year. I would like to note, I really appreciated the accessibility options that they have for individuals who might be visually impaired. They have options for that, like different art forms, just physically assessing the venue where the event will take place. So I thought that was great. Also, I like the different art mediums. When I watched the videos, I noticed different, just kind of unique art forms that were presented to the guests. So I thought that was notable as well. I would recommend that this program continue trying to reach and serve all groups in Fishers. Fishers is evolving, different demographics, and I think they can continue to try to serve all of the underserved communities in that city.
Thank you, Joy. It's Molly again. So I will just open this up to all of the panelists for any new, additional, or opposing comments. All right, hearing none, please update your scores and your online comments. Anybody need any additional time? All right, we will move on. The next application is from the Hendricks County Arts Council. Stephanie, can you bring Ryan back in, or does he need to be out for this one too?
Good question. I'm bringing them back.
Ryan, are you supposed to be out for Hendricks County Arts Council?
I
I
am,
have it on my list.
yes,
Gus has to be out. Okay. There we go. All right, our first reader is Joy. You're muted.
All right.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Hendricks County Arts Council. This has been around for several years. One of the things that I noticed that I thought was pretty not cool, but was really good was that with the students, if they submit their art late beyond the deadline, it is not accepted, teaching responsibility and also accountability. So I thought that was pretty notable. I did notice that they are looking at live streaming, which they think will help the event reach more people. So maybe just continue to work on inclusion and accessibility, but I think that's a great way to start. And then I did notice that there was a really great explanation of the staff and their responsibilities while the folks who will be making this project happen. So overall, I think it's a great project. I noticed it started from one of the art teachers, a donation from him. So a great way to continue with their legacy and help an art student with their studies.
Thank you, Joy. Molly's not here yet, so I open this up to all of you. Any new, additional, or opposing comments?
I thought having the young students having their art juried by professional artists was notable. And I thought the students receiving detailed feedback from the jurors, why they won or missed getting an award was a very good aspect to add to help the students grow as artists.
Thank you, Keisha. Anyone else? All right, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Okay, Stephanie, if you would bring Gus back, please. All right, the next application is from the Indiefolk Series. Anybody need to step out for this? All right, our first reader is Molly. Are we just going straight to Joy, Ryan? Okay, Joy, you are up.
All right. All right, the Indiefolk Series been around for 21 years, so a very long-standing program in the community. I would be curious to learn how many Indiana performers are benefiting, just an estimate, because it seems like they're bringing in quite a few artists from maybe out of town or different regions. So I'd like a little bit more information about that. I did think that it is great that the board is participating in DEIA workshops. I think that's great, and hopefully they'll provide some feedback and some guidance on how to make their program more accessible and inclusive to everyone. Overall, I think it's a great program. They've been around for over 20 years, so doing a great job.
All right. Anyone else on the panel have any new, additional, or opposing comments?
Yeah, I totally agree with Joy about the number of Hoosier artists that are benefiting from this program. I did think that the open mic was a great way to try to get some diversity into the program. And then, of course, it's open and available to all ages and demographics.
Thank you, Gus. Anyone else?
I would just add to the comments by Joy and Gus that if racial diversity of the performers is the hallmark of a typical indie folk season, which is what they mentioned, I would have liked to have seen images depicted on their website. For instance, they identified Fruitland Jackson and Appalachian as artists that they or plan to work with or have worked with, but images were not present on the website.
Thank you, Keisha.
And I
Anybody else?
also,
Oops,
I had
sorry.
one more note that next time we're writing the application, that using specificity when you're talking about the underserved, be very clear about who you define as underserved so that then you can tie back to how your project is benefiting that group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll give you a second to update your scores and online comments. Alrighty, let's move on unless anyone else needs some time. This is going to be Janus Developmental Services. I know that Ryan needs to be out. Does anyone else? Thank you, Stephanie. All right. Joy, Molly's still not here, so you get to lead off.
All right, it looks like this is a new program from Janus. And I have to say that looking through the artwork, I was really impressed. I know that it's serving an underserved community, individuals with disabilities, but I think that it's a great opportunity for them to not only learn photography, but to display their artwork to their family and friends and everyone else in the community. I did notice in one of the answers, it really talked about equity, everyone having an equal opportunity for things. And I think that is just as important as diversity, equality, and accessibility. So great for mentioning equity as well.
Does any of the other panelists have anything they'd like to add?
I was a little confused as to who was benefiting from this. I saw the numbers 50 and 30, and I wasn't 100% sure who was all benefiting from this, and if there were like 50 artists that were benefiting from that. It seems like a class. So it seemed like there was like a benefit to learn how to do photography. And I was just a little confused as to who was benefiting from it.
Thank you, Gus. Anybody else? All right, I will give you a moment to finalize your scores, update any comments you might have. Stephanie, if you would bring Ryan back, please. I think he's okay with the next one. Thank you for your help. All right, our next application is from the Johnson County Community Foundation. Do any of the panelists need to step out? All right, let's just go straight to Joy, if you would give us your comments.
All right, so the Johnson County, Color the County mural has been around for about 6 years. I did notice in the inclusion part where it was, I think 1 year, they had focused on a very isolated part of Johnson County. And I thought that was a great way to include an underserved community, an isolated community. So great on that. And also kudos to being in the process of starting a larger arts council. Overall, I really enjoyed watching the YouTube videos of the mural making process. I think it's a great program.
Any comments or additional thoughts, posing comments from the panel?
The only thing that I wanted to add was, it seemed like there was, we didn't know exactly where the project was going to go this year. And that would have helped me make some decisions about whether it offered diversity in underserved communities. So I would have liked to have had a little bit more, at least an idea of where they were planning on going this year. I could be wrong. I don't think I saw it. And it seemed like the timeline was a little short in my estimation.
Thank you, Gus. Anyone else? All right, please update your scores and your online comments. And our next application is from Keep Noblesville Beautiful. I know Ryan needs to be out. Anyone else?
And Stephanie,
I'll bring him back in. Hold on.
Thank you. I think he needs to be out for the next
Wait,
one
I
too.
cut you off.
sorry, that's fine. So you don't have to let me back in. I need to be out for the next 3. To show
Okay.
you.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the help. All right, we are on Keep Noblesville Beautiful. Our first reader is Gus.
All right, Keep Noblesville Beautiful, a nautical themed roundabout sculpture. I did think it fit the criteria of artistic criteria. And I thought that the project management was in pretty good shape, although I would have liked to have seen a little bit longer timeline. It seemed like they already had put out a call for submissions. I wasn't sure if they had done that yet. The concepts maybe for a specific project maybe needed more time to be engineered, I thought. And then I thought the community engagement, I thought that could have been improved. Public art is beneficial, but where you place the public art is to me where you can capitalize on the IDEA. But I thought the rest of it seemed to be pretty well done. And I thought the budget was pretty good put together as well.
Thank you, Gus. Our second reader is Keisha. I'm sorry, Keisha, you're muted.
There we go. Okay. In addition to those comments provided by Gus, I thought that the community was engaged or involved once the project had been completed. So it wasn't clear, because they get to name the art and they get to celebrate its existence. So that's good. However, it sounded like the community is not surveyed to garner their input before the fact instead of after. For instance, about the theme or artist selection or whether or not public art of this nature is even wanted. So if we could have more information or more detail in that regard, that would have been helpful for me to understand how they're working with the community. And this project, it seemed like it served the artist community of nickel plate arts and the general population of Noblesville. I didn't get a sense that this project was going to be developed with community input. And if it's happening, it just needed to be explained a little bit more. I would suggest that evaluation is included in the timeline. And in-kind support from the city of Noblesville was really, really strong. So it was good to see that the city gets behind a project of this nature.
Thank you, Keisha. Do any of the other panelists have any comments on this project? Okay. Please finalize your scores and update your online comments. All right, moving on. The next application is from the Noblesville Tree Board. Ryan's already out. Does anyone else need to go out for this one? All right, moving on. First reader is Gus.
All right, Noblesville Tree Board. I will have to say that a lot of this, while it fit the artistic quality, from just an overall kind of standpoint for me, about the entire grant was it seemed like it was, it didn't seem like it was necessarily cemented, not concrete. I would have liked to have seen a lot more where they were going to do this, who was going to do this. They did offer some photos from Instagram, but I wasn't sure if that's what they were going for, or if they were just using that as what they thought they might want to do something like that. Again, I thought the pictures were great, but I thought there were too few details to like gauge the impact on the underserved communities, or bringing in the community to seek project input. And I didn't see a proposed location, and it's going to be hard to get that measured. I just felt like the project seemed to be asking for funding a little early in the process.
Thank you, Gus. Our second reader on this is Keisha.
I concur with Gus's observations. And in addition, I can see where there were two artists who had been identified. However, I did not get a sense that they were being compensated for their work. The city of Noblesville, I concluded, was the community and that the project would be free and accessible to all Noblesville residents. But I only got a sense that if they were driving, because they were going around this area. So it wasn't clear if the survey that they said they were doing was to inquire if the project was good for the community, or if it was just to solicit volunteers from the community to work on the project. Specific ideas, strategies were not considered. If it wasn't clear, and nor were they addressed in the application. And there's a reliance on social media to gather feedback, but there's no wrap-up meetings or surveys or tactics to measure impact after this project concludes. So that, again, is something that you add to your timeline. In the budget, I didn't understand the budget.
Thank you, Keisha. Any other panelists have anything to add on this one? All right, please update or finalize your scores and update. Okay, go ahead, Christy, sorry.
I'm sorry, I had trouble getting my mic unmuted. I just felt like this was them seeking funding for what in the end is their goal of getting people to plant trees. It wasn't really an arts project. And it was more like, we're going to look for an artist to make a giant billboard to tell people to plant more trees. And that did not seem like it was appropriate for the Arts Council support.
Thank you,
That's
Christy. Joy, anything? You're the only one who didn't speak.
I know, honestly, I think everyone kind of said where my thoughts were. I especially noticed, like, with the feedback, there was kind of just, we're going to look at Facebook and other forms of social media, but there was a lot of things didn't really seem clear cut. So yeah, that was kind of my overall opinion.
Thank you, and thank you all. If you would, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Anyone need more time? Looks like we're good, so we will move on. Next application is from the town of Arcadia. Ryan still needs to be out. Anyone else need to be out of this one? All right, first reader is Gus.
All right, the town of Arcadia and the downtown Arcadia banners. I enjoyed reading this and was heartened to see that they were getting students involved in a project for the downtown. And I've not been to Arcadia very often, but I liked what I read as far as the grant was concerned with this project and the comeback for Arcadia. I do think it fit the artistic requirements for this project. Although I would have liked to have seen maybe a few more artists, established artists involved. And then as far as community involvement, of course, they obviously are getting the community involved with picking a theme and then having the artists do. I did think that the timeline was very short between when the themes were going to be picked and then when the submissions were going to be taken from the artist and who was going to be given. And I wasn't exactly sure how that process was going to work. Although I do think that the project management, I thought that the lead project manager is a very well versed in the project and was able to carry it out. I didn't know if the donations were secure already, just trying to make sure that this was going to be able to be carried out if it didn't get funded, or what the backup plan was. And the selections, it didn't seem like the selections were going to be based solely on art.
Thank you, Gus. Keisha, I believe you're the second reader.
I concur with Gus's observations. And in addition, I enjoyed reading this application as well. And I thought it was a wonderful strategy to promote civic pride in high school students. And the artistic documentation spoke volumes to the diversity and degree of student engagement in creating public art for a city in which they live. I also applaud the applicant for thinking about how this project can benefit future generations of young visual artists. And the level of detail that was provided in the application demonstrated the thought and innovation that went into creating the project. And last, I wanted to acknowledge the partnership with Nickel Plate Arts and them providing mentor artists to enrich the experience for the student. And I thought, no wonder they got the public recognition from HGTV. So I hope this project continues.
Thank you, Keisha. Anyone else on the panel have anything to add? Okay. If everybody would finalize your scores and update your comments, and Stephanie, if you could bring Ryan back, I would appreciate it. Has everyone completed their scores and updated your online comments? As I understand it, this is the last time that you can do so. All right. This concludes my part of the APS grants panel number 2. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June commission meeting. If you have any questions, please contact Ryan Shelton, your regional arts partner. Thank you. Ryan, do we need anything else?
I believe that'll end the panel. We've asked the panelists to stay along afterwards for just a moment if they have time. But thank you very much.
Thank you all.